When the power goes out and cell towers fail and the internet goes dark, how will your neighborhood and your community coordinate relief efforts?
Most people think that their smartphone will save them until it doesn't. Today we're going to show you how we use these handheld radios in our area to coordinate emergency relief when disaster strikes.
Hey Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. Whether you're in charge of your neighborhood watch program and you're getting ready for disaster, or perhaps your church and you're trying to get that church community ready so that you can respond when disaster strikes, you know, there's something that most people get wrong.
And that is that sometimes we choose equipment that's not going to get the job done, or we choose equipment that's so complicated that people can't understand it. What we're trying to find is the Goldilocks approach, where it's just right, where we get a point where the equipment works for us, but it's not so complicated that it just people want to throw it in the trash.
And so this is how we're setting things up for our local area and what we are in charge of. So we have these phases. So we have what's called block captains, and they're in charge of roughly 8 to 12 homes in a neighborhood, something geographically that makes sense. And then each of those block captains report to an area leader. And then all of these area leaders report to the command center. And there's a good reason why that's organized that way. But each of these, like the radios that we use, we've chosen them for a specific reason. John, why don't you talk about that?
So let's jump into this. Right off, I'm just going to tell you, I really like Midland radio. These are the radios that we've used. These are the radios I've used for many years. I find them easy to use. I like them. I like the quality. And Midland has been very good for us to work with.
Yeah.
But for when we're starting with just our little neighborhood, we're usually dealing with people who may not have a lot of experience, technical experience. These little FRS radios are just so simple. You don't need a license for these. And so anybody can use these. If somebody moves, they can just be handed to the next block captain. Most of the channels have 2 watts. And so we're transmitting with 2 watts, which is enough to cover our local geographic area.
Now, talk just a minute about, like, this only has like a mile range or something, right? And if you've got tall buildings, it's not very far.
Absolutely.
Talk to us a little bit about the range, because it's super important you don't look at what's on the box and that you actually try them out and know what the limitations are. But for our little block area, this is really good.
Yes. And you make a good point there, because a lot of the radios that you see out on the market, they say, you know, good to 36 miles. Well, that's only going to work if you're on a mountaintop and somebody's out on a lake somewhere. You might be able to get 36 miles. But if you're anywhere where there's trees, houses, buildings, hills, anything like that, this range just drops dramatically. And it's important for you to try out your radios so that you know what range you're going to have, say in a neighborhood situation or in a country situation or a hilly situation. So that is a good point that you made.
And one of the things about these radios that I thought was really important is because they are lower wattage, they don't suck the battery as fast. So the battery life lasts a lot longer.
Yeah, since you mentioned batteries, one thing that I really like about these radios is Midland uses a rechargeable battery pack in both of these models right here. If for some reason in an emergency that battery pack fails, you can pull out the battery pack. In this one you would use 3 AAA batteries. In this one you would use 3 AA batteries. And so you have that redundancy. I love that I'm not relying on this battery pack staying good, which it probably would, but if for some reason it failed, you've got a backup.
And another reason why we would choose these radios is because they are less expensive than some of these, and you're going to need to purchase a lot more of these.
Yeah.
So, and because you're handing them out and stuff, it's just, I think it's good to use the less expensive ones where there isn't the need for a stronger radio.
And as I mentioned, these do not require a license. The GMRS, these over here, do require a license, which is only $35, and it covers your entire family. But, you know, a lot of people just don't want to have to mess with that. Or group leadership doesn't want to have to pay all these fees for people that then move out and then they have to redo it. So these are just awesome for local talk.
And I think we should talk about, these operate on the FRS radio. Teach me a little bit about that.
So you can print out this frequency chart, and basically all of these radios, including the ones that we'll talk about in our next video, the repeaters and the MTX 500 and 575.
The mobile units, those are cool.
Yeah, they all use the same frequency. So whether you're talking on this one, these, or this one, you're all using the same frequency. So that's the beauty of this, using these radios, is you're all going to be talking on the same frequencies, the same channel numbers, and so as long as you're coordinating that, everybody knows where to be and they can communicate.
And we also have privacy codes, right? So we've got to be careful that we all understand which privacy code we're using. It doesn't make your conversation private. We should make sure that's known, but it does make it so that it's what do you call it? Because you're narrowing down You're just filtering out some of the noise. We live in a smaller area, so we're not even using privacy codes because that allows us to use any of these and everybody can hear. Each one of these blocks or groups will use their given frequency. So then those are our block captains or our group captains. But then we move over here to the area leaders, and we're going to give them a different radio, and there's a really good reason for that. Why don't you talk about that?
When we're talking about the GMRS, again, you do need a license for these, but these do have a longer range. So instead of 2 watts, these are going to be 5 watts. We're going to be broadcasting with more energy, more power, so that we can reach further.
And when we talk about having to have a license, there's no test required. It's $35 for 10 years. So it's only $350 a year. Yeah. So it's really not a big deal when we talk about that license, but this is more powerful. So all of the block captains will be reporting to the area leaders. And then the area leaders report back up to the command center.
And the command center is probably going to have some amateur radio operators. They are going to be able to communicate with police, first responders, law enforcement of all kinds. Also with church groups, so that coordination can be made with needs for relief and other things. And also just government leaders wanting to know what's happening in their community and where they need to send their resources.
Both John and I are amateur radio operators. However, not everybody wants to go and take that test and put in the time and energy that it takes to do that. So what these radios are doing, it's eliminating that so that we can have better communication, because there is the ideal and then there is reality. And reality is most of us won't be able to do that, but all of us need to communicate. So the command center, this is the radio that we chose for our command center. You want to talk about why? I mean, they're pretty much interchangeable, right? But this one has a few additional features.
Yeah, this one has some more advanced features, group calling, different things like that. But again, this is a GMRS. When we do our next video, we'll get more into the base stations, the mobile units, and the repeaters. So those all function again in this same set of frequencies, just making it a really nice system to cover every need. Now, I'm going to mention here that, you know, this is not an easy thing to do to get this all set up.
Oh, the coordination with all these people?
It's a real challenge,
work.
But our community really feels like this is a critical thing for us to do so that we can communicate no matter what's going on. Hopefully, we will have our cell phones. Hopefully, we will have other resources. But if we don't, for some reason, this is something that's been very important for our community.
And I think that's really important as we look out and see all of the different disasters that have taken place recently. It seems like there's just this huge escalation, and communication over and over again is one of the most important aspects. And our community, right? Because we need to take care of each other. But in order to do that, we have to be able to communicate, and we need to practice this in advance, set it up in advance. And like we talked about here, so here's our little neighborhood, right? Each one of these blocks has a block captain and a co-captain, and they are responsible for all of the people in that area. And what a blessing when something happens to know immediately that you have this neighbor down the street who is a widow or a mom that's got a bunch of young children. This is all going on, and immediately somebody is there to provide the assistance that that person may need and to make sure that they're okay. And you know, you can't depend on our wonderful emergency response people to do that. They don't know all of us. There are not enough of them. But as we work on this kind of stuff, as we try and take care of each other, we'll be okay. We'll be able to survive whatever comes. I really like this system. I like that they all have the NOAA alert. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different features. financially, to be able to set up your whole group, it was like under $2,000.
Yeah, and that's going to depend on, how big your city is, your community, all these things. But, this can be done, and it's not unreasonable.
And so I would, we have a promo code that'll give you a discount for this. Midland, full disclosure, provided these radios for us. We love Midland Radio. We haven't had any issues with it. We have 2 mobile units and a repeater that we're going to do in a video coming up, because it's all about communication, and they have some really amazing communication tools. But we also are very big fans of amateur radio, and that group of people is amazing. And amateur radio can do things that we can't do on this level, but without everybody having these radios, we can't do anything. So this is a fantastic solution, I think, for real people who are busy and who are just trying to help each other and be a little bit better prepared.
One of the things that you mentioned was practice. And I forgot to mention, one of the things that we do is we do radio net check-ins. And so on a regular basis, some of them are doing it monthly, some of them are doing it every 2 weeks. Whatever the frequency of that, all of these people check in to the area leader, and it's a wonderful way to practice. It's a wonderful way to learn.
Makes it less intimidating.
Yeah, and there's opportunities for people to teach. There's opportunities to find out who is the expert in this, and to have a little bit of training, and they'll do that training on the air or in person if you want. But the practice portion of this is just so critical, and so I wanted to make mention of that.
And it always takes somebody to step up and start this. I think that's really important. If you don't have something set up in your area, maybe you do need to stand up and say, even if it's just with my neighbors that are within line of sight of me, we're all gonna get to know each other a little bit and be able to take care of each other. I think that's really important. So I encourage you, step up. If nobody's doing it, you may be really, really grateful that you did someday.
And I also just wanted to mention, obviously the block captain is responsible for that geographic area. Hopefully there will be runners, maybe somebody on a scooter, that's going to canvass this neighborhood to figure out the status of everyone. So that is just another important aspect of this whole big picture, is these block captains knowing their job and being able to get around that area to figure things out and then report in.
We will leave a link to these radios from Midland. Like I said, we really like them, and we have a promo code if you would like a discount on them. But today, for the question of the day, I'd really like to know what your emergency plan is in your community. Who is your community? And what are you doing to make sure when disaster strikes, everybody can be taken care of? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.